What's going on, guys? It's Maffu, and shout out to you guys for 1,000 subscribers. This is a big milestone, and I'm super happy we got it. And yeah, for today's video, we're gonna be looking at 1093, brand new kingdom. Oh, not brand new, an old kingdom, but brand new to me. And we'll be just looking at their alliances. They have 2 main alliances, by the way. I believe they're the only kingdom left with 2 main alliances. And wow, do all old kingdoms look like this? Look at this flag placement. It's like as dense as it can get. Let's go take a look at the main alliance, 93T, and then their second alliance is 93P. No, 93X. There we go. Maybe look at 93X first, and then we get to the main. Well, they're basically the same power, aren't they? Whoa. 12 bill and 14 bill. Kind of crazy. Okay, let's take a look at the second alliance. I'm gonna call this a second alliance, even if it's not a second alliance. Let's look at this one. We get 1093 Phoenix, extra fiery birds. We got Lion Pods, 73 million power, 130 million KP. This is an old account. We got Tariq, 84 million, 5.5 bill. We got Seath, 77 million, almost 10 billion KP. Okay. Ghost Miracle here, 84 million and 12 billion KP. Now, fun fact about this alliance, I actually played against it in Alliance Mobilization before. 80 million, 9.1 billion here. And we got cooked. We got second though, but jeez. 80 million, 9.1 billion here. I'm actually going to try something different where I open their profile first so I can make the video a little bit shorter. We got XO Cherry here with 75 million and 800 million power. We got Corny, 90 million, 10 billion power. Or 90 million power, 10 billion KP. Sorry about that. Nyko? We got Nyko here, 80 million power, 8 billion KP. We got Skeleton, 80 million power, 7 billion KP. Incognito Rex, 88 million power, 6 billion KP. Okay. Tana Lewis, 77 million power, 4 billion KP. We got Misha, 72 million power, 3.4 billion KP. We got Belenus, 75 million power, 6 billion KP. Mafia Jane, 90 million power, 10.2 billion KP. Amargosa, 76 million power, 3 billion KP. We got DSP X Nick, 71 million power, almost 72, 7.4 billion KP. We got Moy, 84 million power, 7.5 bill. Mad Achilles, I've heard this name before. Is this guy a YouTuber? 207 million power, 35.5 billion KP. Oh my god. The SVIP background. This background looks sick, by the way. The Rise of Kingdoms needs to keep adding more cosmetics to the game. They're doing a really good job when they add them, but they just don't have enough. We got El Captain, 77 million power, 10.1 billion KP. Our TK, 88 million power, 11.2 billion KP. We got Yusuf here, 77 million power, 5.4 billion KP. We got Zombie Nugget, 69 million power, 12.2 billion KP. Now, if I sound a little bit tired, it's because I just woke up from a nap, and we hit 1,000 subscribers because I did a live stream this morning, and yeah, I had a nap after that. We got King Kenny, 78 million power, 5.8 billion KP. We got Guardian, 77 million power, 8.1 billion KP. Armani, 68 million power, 6.1 billion KP. We got Wolf here, 80 million power, 7 billion KP. We got Crixus here, 83 million power, 10.5 billion KP. Is this Crix, or is that someone else? I know everyone talks about Crix in his Trap Cities. Is this him in 93X? Right, Kuma here, 79 million power, 21 billion KP. Oh my god, that's a lot. We got Fuji here, 83 million power, almost 13 billion KP. Miba, 91 million power, almost 12 billion KP. Birdie, 62 million, 2.3 billion KP. Okay. We got Residue, 81 million power, almost 18 billion KP. That is crazy. What's this? What anime is this? Is this One Piece? Momo here with the cat. That's so cute. 78 million power, almost 10.5 billion KP. Raze, 89 million power, almost 13.8 billion KP. We got Quasco, 72 million power, 3 billion KP. We got Uti, 95 million power, 13.3 billion KP. We got Patriarch Zook, 80 million power, 6.2 billion KP. We got Hunk Dizzle, 69 million power, 12 billion KP. We got Brit, 81 million power, 6.3 billion KP. We got Sozenin, 84 million power, 7.5 billion KP. We got Sofrito, 98 million power, almost 15 billion KP. Also, this looks familiar too. I don't know what it is though. JZB, 103 million power, 19.1 billion KP. Let me know if you're liking the new transitions where I just go profile to profile instead of having the in-between clicking. Let me know, because I could do all kingdoms like this in the future. So we got Mohammed, 82 million power, 13.7 billion KP. Angelo, 72 million power, 8.9 billion KP. We're at 42 Mazarsi, 82 million power, 10.2 billion KP. Misbehave, 79 million power, 7.6 billion KP. We got Nesret, 82 million power, 7.6 billion KP. Oh, the Pantelas, 83 million power, 10.3 billion KP. We have Vinny here, 84 million power, 8.1 billion KP. We have Infinite here, 82 million power, 8.6 billion KP. Angelic K, 78 million power, 10 billion KP. Millions, 84 million power, 8.3 billion KP. Harvuk Velas, 80 million power, 6.5 billion KP. Your local boy toy, 78 million power, 8.1 billion KP. Your Arslan, 91 million power, 15.1 billion KP. Now this profile background looks just insane. We have Goofy, 71 million power, 7.5 billion KP. We have Fitz and Lucardia, 80 million power, 8.2 billion KP. Exquisite, 77 million power, 13.3 billion KP. Charlie, 78 million power, 5.2 billion KP. We got Top, 73 million power, 8 billion KP. El Salvador, 85 million power, 12.3 billion KP. We had Nurs Grabung, 90 million power, 16.6 billion KP. We got Airy, 78 million power, 7.1 billion KP. Beside up, we got Idas, 81 million power, 10.8 billion KP. That's kind of crazy. Iron Fist, 81 million power, almost 9 billion KP. Perda, 79 million power, 7.5 billion KP. We had 73 million power here, 11.3 billion KP. Leuven, 73 million power, almost 7 billion KP. Neyman here, 76 million power, 6.1 billion KP. SBN, 146 million power, 20.5 billion KP. Okay. Let's go. Liberalitas, 97 million power, 21 billion KP. No stats shown. We got Wolf and Renegado, 77 million power, 7 billion KP. We got Goliath, 83 million power, almost 18 billion KP. Ray, 86 million power, 4.2 billion KP. Neelix, 84 million power, 7 billion KP. Dirty Dan, 94 million power, 11 billion KP. Let's go. We got Kroom, 78 million power, 5.2 billion KP. We got Migos, 70 million power, 5.6 billion KP. Ember, 100 million power, 32 billion KP. 32 billion. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. We got Sparks, 79 million power, 12.5 billion KP. We got XOXO Cherry, 92 million power, almost 20 billion KP. We got this is a Butterfly C. I'm just call this C. C. 90 million power, 8 billion KP. We got Kitty Gang, 70 million power, 5.7 billion KP. We got Kian, 75 million power, 10.3 billion KP. We got Kuma, 85 million power, 7.5 billion KP. We got King, 180 million power, 27 billion KP. We got Deco, 83 million power, 11 billion KP. Scorpion, 84 million power, 7.2 billion KP. Goodfellas, 97 million power, 15.5 billion KP. Cactus Jack, 98 million power, almost 35 billion KP. Yo, Big Nuke, 40 billion KP. Oh my god. With the Meliodas profile picture. Destiny, 92 million power, 10.1 billion KP. We got AJ with 84 million power and 10.8 billion KP. We got Raiden, 80 million power, 9.1 billion KP. We got Alberto, 81 million power, 8.3 billion KP. Omar, 86 million power, 8 billion KP. Boba TC, 90 million power, 19.3 billion KP. Now, I think Boba has a YouTube channel? Or is that, am I crazy? I heard of Boba though. We got Ralphie, 76 million power, 5 billion KP. Alan Nude, 77 million power, 7.3 billion KP. NZL, 77 million power, 6.4 billion KP. Captain Mint Minty, 85 million power, almost 12 billion KP. We got Puru, 70 million power, 5.1 billion KP. Potato with 76 million power, 11.5 billion KP. Joe, 68 million power, 3.7 billion KP. We got Doodoo, 78 million power, 8.3 billion KP. We got Ballin 48, 97 million power, almost 11 billion KP. We had Jay with 71 million power and 5.7 billion KP. Hazem, 74 million power and 13.5 billion KP. We had Lubu BG, 87 million power, 12.2 billion KP. We had Duck here with 89 million power and almost 13 billion KP. We had Gwen Bleed, 81 million power, 6.6 billion KP. We got Hostile 2, 78 million power, 9 billion KP. We got XL, 92 million power, 15.7 billion KP. We got Non-Demic, 72 million power, 5.4 billion KP. Pangea, 82 million power, 6.6 billion KP. Chaos, 72 million power, 2.5 billion KP. Lens, 75 billion power, 3.2 billion KP. Prospect, 89 million power, 16.4 billion KP. Shred Dog, 128 million power, 16.2 billion KP. Okay. We got Thomas Shelby, 94 million power, 17.7 billion KP. We got Arc, 75 million power, 8 billion KP. We got Crawl, 77 million power, almost 7 billion KP. We got Burns, 92 million power, 12.5 billion KP. Key Bulldog, 80 million power, 10.7 billion KP. We had Dodo Midski, 75 million power, 5.1 billion KP. We had Nisi, We had Nisi, 85 million power, 12.5 billion KP. We got Queen of Spring, 78 million power, 7.6 billion KP. We got Ben, 82 million power, 6.8 billion KP. We got Exo Buddy, 83 million power, 8.6 billion KP. 94 million power, 40.3 billion KP. Oh my lord. That's a lot of KP. Mr. Momo, 90 million power, 20 billion KP. We got Irish Potatoes, 77 million power, 8.4 billion KP. We got Lucardio, 65 million power, 3 billion KP. We got QBs, 68 million power, 2 billion KP. Last but not least, Donut, 62 million power and 4.6 billion KP. Now let me know if you like that new style better. We're about to check out the main alliance here. This is gonna be a long video. I'm trying to speed it up as much as possible by cutting the dead space so you guys don't have to wait. Let me know how I did. Let's go to the main alliance, 93T. With their king, Silent Flow, starting off with 85 million power, 11.2 billion KP. We got Vanji, 82 million power, 9 billion KP. We got Mayo here, 94 million power, 17 billion KP. We got Ursu and Blue, 93 million power, 30 billion KP. We got Super here, 112 million power, 28.8 billion KP. We got Tuit here, 87 million power, 18.2 billion KP. We got Rimuru, 87 million power, 14 billion KP. We got Rubio, 94 million power, 17 billion KP. Red Hermie here, 91 million power, 12.4 billion KP. We got Pocahontas, 107 million power, 20 billion KP. The Albert, 94 million power, 12.5 billion KP. We got Frozen of Elsa, 96 million power, 18.4 billion KP. We got Maxim, 128 million power, 32 billion KP. Yo, okay. We had 918, 62 million power, 8.1 billion KP. We got Bose, 94 million power, 15 billion KP. We got Noob, 86 million power, 14.6 billion KP. Mr. Yaya, 91 million power, 8.4 billion KP. We got Sukubu, 88 million power, 7.2 billion KP. We got East, 98 million power, 16.3 billion KP. We got Sky with 106 million power and 18.7 billion KP. We had Kaldalka, 85 million power, 9.1 billion KP. Okay. We got Leonardo, 83 million power, 7.7 billion KP. We got Bad, 86 million power, 7.4 billion KP. We got Quito here, 71 million power, 5.5 billion KP. We got Barca, 97 million power, 23 billion KP. We had Douglas, 118 million power, 34 billion KP. Yo, almost 100 million deads. Almost 100 million deads. Yo, crazy. We got Tay, 81 million power, 10.8 billion KP. We got Hunter, 151 million power, almost 15 billion KP with the Panda Dab. Love it, love it. We got Maiden, 101 million power, 18 billion KP. We got Mad Horus, 80 million power, 14 billion KP. We got Kate, 90 million power, almost 24 billion KP. We got Kia, 82 million power, 12.5 billion KP. We got Speeda, 87 million power, 16 billion KP. We got B-Rolex, 94 million power, 16.2 billion KP. We got Baobun, 96 million power, 13.8 billion KP. We got Lily So, 80 million power, 8.1 billion KP. We got Monster Mochi, 116 million power, almost 28 billion KP. We got Spicy Squid, 81 million power, 8.4 billion KP. We got Barbass, 80 million power, 12.6 billion KP. We got Roman, 92 million power, 9.1 billion KP. We have Jax here, 88 million power, 13.5 billion KP. We got Batgirl, 78 million power, 8 billion KP. We got KV the 118 million power, 17.5 billion KP. We got Panda Loaf. Oh my god. This might be the strongest account in the whole kingdom. 1 billion power. Just kidding. 1,000 power? What? We got Bobbert, 62 million power, 6 billion KP. We got CJCU, 91 million power, 14 billion KP. We got Amos, 78 million power, 6.1 billion KP. We got Umar, we got 86 million power, 11.8 billion KP. We got Killanubi, 92 million power, 14.4 billion KP. We got Gollum, 91 million powers, 14.6 billion KP. We got Shaki, 96 million power, 16.5 billion KP. We got Ant DG, 93 million power, 13.7 billion KP. We got Poppy Herald, 95 million power, 11.1 billion KP. We got Sharon, 99 million power, 35 billion KP. Oh my god. That's a lot of KP. We got MR, 77 million power, 6.5 billion KP. We got Quika Bomb, 87 million power, 8 billion KP. We got Papinik, 87 million power, 11.4 billion KP. We got Rudra and Blood here, 84 million power, 11.7 billion KP. We got Plamp here, 91 million power, 15 billion KP. We have the Fear, 80 million power, 16 billion KP. We got Colonel J, 84 million power, 3.6 billion KP. We have Cabo, 123 million power, 14 billion KP. We have Burgo, 78 million power, 4.4 billion KP. We had Said, 104 million power, 28 billion KP. We had Darth Maximus, 111 million power, 2.8 billion KP. We got Hog Rider. Yes, you have to say it that way. We got Eminem and Gladiator, 90 million power, 13 billion KP. We got Sun Jinwoo, let's go. We got Ghost Boy, 87 million power, 16 billion KP. We got Crater, 115 million power, 48 billion KP. Oh my god. That is a lot of KP. Maximum power was 880 million. Wow. We got Slaughter here, 101 million power, 17 billion KP. We have H-Bomb, 77 million power, 8.8 billion KP. We have Trope here, 77 million power, 4.1 billion KP. We got G-Bod, 128 million power, 33 billion KP. Oh my lord. We got Prime, 94 million power, 15.7 billion KP. We got Mo Patron, 94 million power, 9.2 billion KP. We got Chumol, 82 billion power, 15.1 billion KP. We got LMA, 90 million power, 12.5 billion KP. Suzilla, 80 million power, 8.2 billion KP. We got Asterix, 87 million power, 9.6 billion KP. We have Jergs here, 128 million power, 7.1 billion KP. We got Munch and Modern here, 96 million power, 43 billion KP. Yo, what? We have Weighty Hendrix, 80 million power, 7.1 billion KP. We have Old Axeman, 82 million power, 9 billion KP. We have Honcho, 94 million power, 14.6 billion KP. We have Truth with 82 million power, 9.9 billion KP. We got Cosma, 80 million power, 7.1 billion KP. We got Semi Rami, 103 million power, 11.9 billion KP. We got Killer, 110 million power, 30 million KP. We got Ghost Rider, 99, 343 million power, 35.3 billion KP. Oh my god, almost half a million units killed. That is crazy. That is insane. Ghost Rider 99. We have Jade Star, 95 million power, 10.8 billion KP. We have Peter 1, 100 million power, 12.9 million KP. We have Nameless, almost 100 million power, 18.8 billion KP. We have Mad, 104 million power, 5.8 billion KP. We have Baller here, 91 million power, 9.6 billion KP. We have Bong Kim, 89 million power, 9.3 billion KP. We have Snacks, 84 million power, 9.1 billion KP. We got Sin, 95 million power, almost 31 billion KP. Okay. We got Fong here, 87 million power, almost 19 million billion KP, almost 19 billion KP. We got Tad here, 88 million power, 11 billion KP. We got Leo Berserk here, 100 million power, 13.3 billion KP. We got Catherine here, 116 million power, 14 billion KP. We got Ona here, 90 million power, 9.1 billion KP. We got Ronan here, 86 million power, 18.5 billion KP. We got Rin here, 103 million power, 20 billion KP. Very bare bones profile, nothing is showing. He's defeated 1,000 level 55 barbarians. That's his one achievement he shows. We have Rage Problems, 79 million power, 13.3 billion KP. We got Tyler Bowie, 101 million power, 26.6 billion KP. We got Poon Squad, 103 million power, 28 billion KP. We got BG Skippa, 135 million power, 30 billion KP. We got Swami Hano, 126 million power, 19 billion KP. Fatal here, 88 million power, 17 billion KP. Fatty, 98 million power, 14.3 billion KP. We got Abu Anatar, 91 million power, 11 billion KP. We have Bill, 78 million power, almost 5 billion KP. Let's go Bill. We got Blu-ray, 86 million power, 25.5 billion KP. This is a super fire name, by the way. I actually like this a lot. Blu-ray. Ooh, and the profile picture, W Blu-ray. We got Bay here, 86 million power, 9.9 billion KP, almost 10 bill. 10 bill is a big milestone, huh? We got Boom Boom here, 87 million power, 9.2 billion KP. We got Marlboro here, 88 million power, 9.6 billion KP. We got X Bene, 94 million power, 7.5 billion KP. We got Big Shrimp Fish, 84.7 million power, 7.7 billion KP. We got Tetekitoa, BB, 76 million power, 6.3 billion KP. We got Ananas, 91 million power, 12.7 billion KP. We got Dark Octopus, 103 million power, 19 billion KP. We got 81 million power, 8.1 billion KP. We got Bad Boy, 106 million power, 20 billion KP. Daisy, 91 million power, 23.7 billion KP. We got Wuyu, 97 million power, 25 billion KP. If you know, you know, 141 million power. We got Original Killer here, 85 million power, 9.5 billion KP. We have Echo here, 82 million power, 9.3 billion KP. We have Carrie here, 85.5 million power, 7.3 billion KP. We have Batista, 83 million power, 7.4 billion KP, billion. We have Rhoda, 80 million power, 8.5 billion KP. We got Zythrium, 81 million power, 14.3 billion KP. Habel here, 87 million power, 10.3 billion KP. We got La Monsta, 99 million power, 17.5 billion KP. We got Meowser here, 73 million power, almost 8 billion KP. We got Zoned Out, 108 million power, 13.5 billion KP. We got Olaf, 92 million power, 7.3 billion KP. We got Lazy J here, 101 million power, 12.6 billion KP. We got Hull here, 91 million power, 37.6 billion KP. Okay. We got Orchide, 92 million power, 32.5 billion KP. Yo. We got Ralph here, 63 million power, 29.6 billion KP. Definitely not a bank. This is not a bank, guys. Definitely not. We got Eater here, 45 billion KP. 45 billion KP, 96 million power. Oh my god, look at that. You just killed. Wow. We got Papa here, 94 million power, 36.6 billion KP. We got 701, 108 million power, 15 billion KP. We got JK here, 93 million power, 11.7 billion KP. We got Tifo here, 86 million power, 6.3 billion KP. And last but not least, we got Mr. Moo. Mr. Moo, did we just get this guy in the other alliance? Maybe he swapped alliances while I was moving over. 98 million power, 20 billion KP. Okay, Mr. Moo got twice. Lovely. That is Scuff Tigers and 93T, and oh my lord, what a strong alliance. How many stars is that? 12 stars. Arc of Osiris champions. I don't know what these mean, but that is crazy. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you're from 1093, drop a comment saying hi and I'll like it. Peace.